Mozambique energy sector, with its vast potential in renewable energy, natural gas, and critical minerals, represent one of the Mozambique's greatest opportunities available to accelerate industrialization. And what we did was to achieve three main objectives. The first of them is to find the right vision for Mozambique. The second is find the right finance source, blending finance. And the third, find the right mechanism of accountability, transparency, and based on that, we create our sovereign wealth fund. It is how we base all our process. On the vision, we must say that was approved a master plan for electricity that covered the period of 2028-2045, and this plan is a very robust one, which identifies least cost priorities for generation, transmission, and distribution, including regional integration and energy exports to neighboring countries. But we also have an additional strategy, which is the strategy of transition energy strategy, which was approved in 2023. And this strategy recognized the natural gas as an essential transition fuel capable of supporting economic development and industrialization while enabling the rapid expansion of renewable energy. And we believe that this seeks Mozambique as a regional energy hub, promoting green energy industrialization and contributing as well for the global energy transition through the responsible use of the country's energy resource. We can see that based on this strategy was also defined the 4 pillars that we have to follow in order to ensure the green energy strategy and green energy transition that is based on development of modern energy system based on renewable energy, the green industrialization, the promotion of universal access of electricity by 2030, covering 100% of Mozambicans' population, and the last but not least, the promotion of low emissions mobility, which cover the electric mobility, the natural gas for vehicles, and biofuels. This is how the landscape is being designed. We also have on the line on the finance side, which is a blended finance comprising the bilateral, multilateral development partners, development agencies, the risk management entities as well, all are part of this process of finance, the energy sector in Mozambique. And we believe this is the right mechanism that we can put all together in order to push the development of the industrialization financed by the LNG sector. And the last but not least pillar is on the accountability and the transparency, where we create a very clear mechanism based on our sovereign wealth fund, which also was based on the very clear, we can say, the committee for supervision that was created by the parliament side. We also have the investment committee, which is reporting to the government side. And all of this has been based on the implementation of our sovereign wealth fund, which is based on the central bank, but based on the very clear fiscal rule that was approved by law. It is clear that 40% of the LNG revenues go to the fund, and 60% is used to finance the budget for industrialization. So it's how we are working.
Thank you very much. We see what Mozambique is doing. You were able to do that with a vision, and then you planned your finance, and towards the end you say, with accountability, we are able to do that. Please, a round of applause to Honorable Claro. Allow me now to move to Nigeria. You also have abundance of resources. And the question I would like you to answer, your Right Honorable, is what are the lessons that we need to learn from the past with regards to exporting commodities at the expense of beneficiation and developing local value chain? And after you, we will welcome the Minister from Senegal, and I understand he will be speaking in French. Right Honorable, welcome.
Thank you very much. I bring warm greetings from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to Her Excellency Dr. Sami Hassan, the President of this great country. I recognize the CEO Africa 50 and the working committee for what they are doing to convene this meeting here. And my co-panelists, it is important that African leaders have woken up to the responsibility of the day to address our challenges. When you go out everywhere, they talk about energy poverty in Africa, because for the past number of years, we've been exporting our crude. So today, I think we've come to realize the fact that we need to come back home and develop our country, so that when our leaders get out of this continent, they will not face with the issue of over 600 million Africans are lacking access to electricity. No, it shouldn't be. So today, looking at Nigeria, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has taken a position that we need to develop gas utilization within the country. And when this is done, you are sure of power generation, industrialization, food security with reference to fertilizer production, clean cooking, transportation. So globally, we are talking about energy security. And when this is addressed, using gas in our dear country, some of those challenges will be addressed. We are really particular. Let me tell you that in our country, Nigeria, though we host the highest volume of natural gas in the continent, we are not selfish about it. We look into how we can transport this gas to other countries within the continent so that they can take advantage of it. So the issue of continuously exporting our natural resources is no longer a priority now, even though you will talk about foreign exchange. But then, if you utilize it within the country, you grow industries, as I've mentioned. This will create job opportunities. It will create revenue for the country. And you talk about the fertilizer production to guarantee food security for your people, because the primary responsibility of the government is to ensure that our people are living in the prosperity. And under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we are talking about from gas to prosperity. So in every sector of it, we pursue it that way. In the past, there was no issue of transborder gas pipeline. But today, I can tell us that we now transport our gas to Ghana, Togo, Benin Republic. And just last month, there was a meeting of the West African head of states where an agreement was signed between the national oil companies for gas to be exported from Nigeria through the Atlantic to more than 12 countries within that region to Morocco. This is what we are doing. And of course, as this gas passes through all these countries that will serve as off-takers, they will take advantage of it to improve their power generation, fertilizer production, industrialization, clean cooking, and of course, develop their own countries. It is not within at that level. We are doing same with Algeria. We are doing same with Equatorial Guinea. So the time has passed for us to continue to talk about exporting our natural resources. Rather, we use it and develop our continent for the good of our continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable, for the initiatives that are ongoing in Nigeria. And especially, I like the mantra, from gas to prosperity, and you include all the way other nations in the West Africa, all the way to the north. Next up, he will be speaking in French, so I'm going to ask you to get your translation gadgets. Kindly assist my panelists also. We are happy to have Honorable Dr. El Haj Abdurrahman Diop, the Minister of Energy and Petroleum from Senegal. And the question I have for you, how do we think about developing cross-border, and I'm just taking it over from Nigeria, right? Cross-border pipelines to indeed drive gas trade and exports internally and across the continent. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. It is a great honor for us to be here, and I would like to thank you for the invitation. I'm switching in French, with your permission. C'est vraiment un grand honneur pour nous de venir ici en Tanzanie représenter le président du Sénégal, Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar Faye, son Excellence Madame Samia Hassan. Je voudrais vous transmettre les salutations fraternelles du président Bassirou Diomaye Faye, qui avait voulu être ici personnellement pour répondre à votre invitation. Et c'est un conflit d'agenda qui a fait qu'il ne peut pas être ici aujourd'hui. Alors, par rapport à votre question, le Sénégal est un pays qui est devenu gazier très récemment. Nous avons eu notre first gaz en janvier 2025, donc c'est très récent. Mais ce qui est intéressant par rapport à votre connexion, à votre question sur l'interconnexion, c'est que nous avons un projet inédit en termes de montage. Nous avons le projet qu'on appelle le Grand Tortue Ahmeyim, GTA, que nous avons avec nos voisins de la Mauritanie. C'est l'occasion d'ailleurs de féliciter encore le président Sidi ici présent. Donc c'est un projet inédit parce que nous avons du gaz des deux côtés. Et là où ailleurs il y a eu des difficultés de partage, nos deux pays frères ont eu l'intelligence d'exploiter ce gisement entre eux. Donc du coup, il n'y a pas de conflit. Il y a naturellement des fois quelques contentieux avec les opérateurs, mais globalement, c'est un projet qui se passe bien. Mais globalement, en termes d'énergie et d'électrification au Sénégal, nous avons pratiquement les mêmes problèmes que les autres pays africains. Chaque année, nous augmentons la production, mais chaque année, notre population augmente, les besoins augmentent, et nous ne parvenons pas à nous sortir en termes d'industrialisation ou tout simplement en termes d'accès universel. Par exemple, aujourd'hui, l'ensemble des 19 millions de Sénégalais n'ont pas tous accès à l'énergie et au gaz. Et nous avons deux chiffres clés que je voudrais partager ici. Le premier chiffre, c'est que nous avons 6471 localités à l'intérieur du Sénégal qui n'ont pas encore accès à l'université, à l'électricité du moins. Et pour financer ces 6471 localités, nous avons besoin de 400 milliards de francs CFA, ce qui est l'équivalent de 800 millions de dollars. Donc le message aujourd'hui par rapport à l'énergie, à l'interconnexion, c'est que le Sénégal a besoin de 800 millions de dollars pour pouvoir financer l'accès universel. Et l'objectif, c'est de l'avoir dans 2 ans. Et cela pose la problématique du financement. Nous avons des budgets qui sont plus orientés vers les dépenses sociales. Et de plus en plus, nous avons besoin de bâtir des partenariats publics-privés où l'argent du privé vient se substituer à l'argent du public dans des domaines qui peuvent être rentables. Parce que sur ces régions dont je vous parle au Sénégal qui n'ont pas accès à l'université, à l'électricité, je parle souvent d'université parce que je suis ancien ministre de l'enseignement supérieur. Donc ça me poursuit encore. Et dans ces zones-là où on n'a pas accès à l'électricité, il n'y a que l'État qui peut faire des investissements qui ne sont pas rentables. Le privé ne va pas aller dans des zones qui ne sont pas rentables pour faire des investissements. C'est pour ça que nous devons trouver un équilibre entre le financement public et le financement privé pour pouvoir avoir accès à l'universel. Maintenant, pour terminer sur les questions d'interconnexion, non seulement nous avons l'exemple avec la Mauritanie, mais nous avons l'exemple de l'organisation de la mise en valeur du fleuve Sénégal et l'organisation de la mise en valeur du fleuve Gambie. C'est ça qui fait que si nous sommes en surcapacité Si nous sommes en surproduction, la Gambie, la Guinée et le Mali, qui sont des pays voisins, peuvent en profiter. Et si nous sommes en déficit, leur surproduction nous permet aussi d'en profiter. Cela veut dire que chacun essaie d'agir là où il est fort pour aider à réserver le déficit de l'autre. Là où je voudrais terminer sur les questions de transition, c'est une question toujours difficile pour moi, parce qu'avant d'être le ministre de l'énergie et du pétrole, j'étais le ministre de l'environnement et de la transition écologique, et je me battais tous les jours avec le ministre du pétrole. Maintenant, c'est moi le ministre du pétrole et je dois trouver l'équilibre. Naturellement, dans nos pays, et c'est ma conclusion, on ne peut pas, comme certains pays développés qui ont déjà utilisé le fossile, quitter du jour au lendemain pour parler d'une économie propre. Chaque pays a son histoire. Et l'histoire de nos pays, c'est que nous avons des gaps de pauvreté à résorber. Et aujourd'hui que nous avons du gaz et du pétrole, nous demandons une transition douce, une transition intelligente, une transition différenciée qui nous permette de bénéficier des fossiles pour régler un certain nombre de problèmes de pauvreté pour aller vers le renouvelable. Donc là aussi, nous devons avoir un équilibre entre les fossiles et le renouvelable, avoir un agenda africain où la ZLECAf, par exemple, pourrait avoir, en termes de transport et de commerce, un rôle extrêmement important. Et c'est cela que nous appelons la solidarité des pays africains. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much for sharing the initiatives that are ongoing in Senegal. Before I come to His Excellency Wamkele, let me come home, yeah, in Tanzania. And I have a question for you. I think the audience would like to hear, how can gas-producing country like Tanzania develop affordable, all right, and commercially sustainable LPG framework that will really, really help move Africa's gas resource from better value chains and will allow to expand access to clean cooking? I think this is a question dear to Tanzania. Honorable Ndejembi, the floor is yours.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for this question. It is well stated that almost 2.1 billion people globally do not have access to clean cooking. And if you break down that number, about 1 billion out of that is from Africa. And from that 1 billion that is from Africa, with people without any clean cooking access, you will see that 85% of that is from sub-Saharan Africa. Well, therefore, it is safe to say that clean cooking is no longer a topic that would say needs to take time. It is an urgent topic. It is a development priority. But it is simply not just an energy issue, but it is also a public health issue, environmental issue, gender equality and economical development issue. I'll come back home here. Prior to 2021, access to clean cooking was about 6%. But under the steady stewardship of our president, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, she championed it, she campaigned it, pushing access to clean cooking here in Tanzania. We have managed to move from 6% to about 28% today as we speak in 2026. And that has also increased our imports from about 290,000 metric tons per year to about 459,000 metric tons per year last in 2025. So you see, we have made steps. However, by doing that, we still have created a bigger demand. Today here in Tanzania, 7 out of 10 households still use charcoal and other sources of energy cooking. So there is room for work. We have vast resources of gas in Africa, in Tanzania, but we should not treat that commodity as an export commodity only. We should also scale up the use of natural gas, LPG, here at home in Africa. And how do we do that? We do that by also connecting our countries. We have neighboring countries like Mozambique. From my plant to where their plant is about 74 kilometers. We need to connect with ourselves so as we can provide greater access to energy across our regions, across our continent. We can have pipelines from Tanzania to Kenya, pipelines from Tanzania to Uganda, to Congo and so forth. That will give us access to clean energy for our people and scale up access to LPG and CNG. But looking at the International Energy Agency, it estimates that under policy settings, around 75% of global population could still have access to clean cooking by the year 2030. But that needs political will. It needs an inclusion from the public sector, the private sector, and all other major stakeholders to help us achieve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And I'm looking at His Excellency Wamkele. In one way or the other, when we're speaking about vision, she highlighted finance. When we moved ahead, he spoke of universal coverage in Senegal. We're speaking about finance. Again, in Nigeria, when we're thinking about really utilizing the gas in the country and reaching out from gas to prosperity, we're talking finance. And last but not least, when we're listening to having access to clean cooking resource here in Tanzania, wanting to reach more, we mean finance. And you come from the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. A question for you, and I'm sure the audience would like to hear. How can you actually help Africa advance some of bigger projects? Because there is the appetite for that. And in particular, not only in gas, but then think about supplying clients regionally, okay, but also marking the use beyond the endowments that we've had. And also importantly, have, like what we had from Nigeria, both energy security and also, like what we had from Tanzania, also contribute to cleaner cooking. Please, I'm sure the audience would like to hear that view from you.
Thank you very much. First, let me appreciate our leaders that are here. Mama, Her Excellency, President Samia Suluhu Hassan, Vice President Kindiki of Kenya, former President Kikwete, ministers. It is really a pleasure for me to be back in Dar es Salaam. The remarks that the President of the bank made and that the CEO made are absolutely relevant in terms of us having to mobilize our own capital. I think the President said that Africa has over $3 trillion worth of domestic capital. And the CEO said that Africa's capital must work for Africa's investment. Now, in the current global context, the context of fiscal constraints, reduced overseas development assistance, our former partners that were directing capital towards the continent themselves are subjected to sovereign debt distress. So the global context is very constrained. So the question, therefore, is how do we mobilize domestic capital? African capital, over $3 trillion that's available, channel it and direct it towards infrastructure projects on the continent. So I think this is a challenge. We've established the frameworks, they are there. President Kaberuka was instrumental and others in establishing Africa 50, it's functional. over $9 billion worth of investments in infrastructure since its establishment, I believe the next challenge is how do we mobilize the domestic capital that we have. Of course, those partners that are willing to partner with us from outside of the continent, I'm sure they are most welcome. So today's discussion is very timely. The President's vision of the new Africa financial architecture is timely because it addresses this question, a very pertinent question of reduced and constrained capital flows into the continent for infrastructure development. The role of the AFCFTA is very simple. It is to enable scaling of infrastructure investments. So for example, here in Tanzania, the country produces over 170 million cubic meters of gas annually from Songo Songo and other places. We've heard Mozambique producing gas. We have also visited, by the way, last month in Angola, we visited a facility that will produce sufficient fertilizers to supply not only for, Amufet is the name, not only for Angola, but the region. However, with all of this investment and the capital that it will be directed to scaling, if we don't have harmonized rules for the exports of these fertilizers to happen, or the export of the gas to happen, we will not achieve our objectives. And so this is the first way in which we can contribute to the development of infrastructure in Africa, enabling the scaling of these projects. Second, by deploying harmonized trade rules, trade policy, to enable trade amongst countries. If you have a domestic supply of energy and you are able to export, that will happen on the basis of the trade rules. A market of 1.4 billion people with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion is a very significant market, domestic market. But we have got to overcome the fragmentation that has happened for many years by creating a single market. And so the infrastructure projects that we see, and by the way, you know, my neighbor mentioned the productive capacity between Senegal, the Gambia, and Mauritania, and the connectivity in terms of production capacity, the Honorable Minister. I drove from the Gambia, Banjul to Dakar. And there is a bridge, Senegambia Bridge, which was financed by Africa 50. Completely transformed the trade ecosystem of the two countries, particularly the neighboring cities, smallholder farmers, informal traders. That infrastructure investment not only reduced the cost of trade, the cost of doing business, but it also addressed this issue of inclusivity, where we have now smallholder farmers that are active participants of driving the economic ecosystem of that region. So we have examples where infrastructure development does indeed have a direct impact on people's lives, including the matters that the Honorable Minister of Tanzania raised on clean cooking. And I want to congratulate Mama for her leadership because she raised this matter in the African Union. It is now one of the projects of the African Union that the entire continent is focusing on through her leadership. And we were here last year for the Clean Cooking Summit that Mama hosted with AFDB. So for us, our role is very simple. Deploy the trade rules to enable scaling of infrastructure investment, create the investor confidence by applying the rules, deploy the trade policy instruments to enable the investments and the production at domestic level to be exported outside of the country that has excess capacity.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause to Wamkele. Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, 1 minute or less, preferably. I would like to hear from this high-level panel, by 2030, it's not very far, but it would be good to let the audience know, what is that one measurable outcome that would really demonstrate that we do have a gas strategy and we will really deliver that? I know most of you touched on it in one way or the other. One sentence. If you have that one sentence, that would be good. If you don't, it's also okay. And I will start all the way from Nigeria, come to Tanzania, Senegal, and I will finish with Mozambique. Karim.
Thank you very much once again, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic, and from what my brother from Tanzania mentioned, LPG. In Nigeria, under the director of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we are to move 5 million homes from utilization of charcoal and all those heavy emission sources to clean cooking by 2030. And we are on track on that. So currently, we are moving around from state to state to ensure we encourage the homes with every state 27,000 cylinders of LPG filled, and we have promised to do that for 6 times. This is how to move them. It's not for rich homes, but for the poor homes, the less privileged, to move them from and using all those heavy emission sources in their own cooking to protect public health. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a big point. Thank you. A big campaign around clean cooking in Nigeria. Yes, United Republic of Tanzania. Welcome.
Thank you. If there's one thing, it's that as Africans, we should not work in silos. We should collaborate. We should form infrastructure projects that are bankable, scalable, and that provide access to one another as a continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senegal.
Nous avons un grand problème d'équité territoriale avec l'électrification rurale. Je disais qu'on a un grand problème d'équité territoriale avec l'électrification rurale. Parce qu'on parle beaucoup de gaz to power, de gaz to industrie, les questions de l'énergie de façon générale. Mais nous oublions toujours qu'il y a une population très travailleuse qui n'est pas dans les grandes villes, qui est loin de ces questions de développement et qu'on doit aussi aider à se développer. Et le dernier point, c'est que puisque nous sommes en train d'exploiter notre gaz, nous voyons qu'il y a un problème économique de différence de vue entre les majors, les opérateurs et nous. Tous les majors veulent exploiter notre gaz, faire du GNL et aller à l'exportation. Alors que notre véritable besoin, c'est d'avoir le gaz domestique pour la gestion de nos propres besoins. Et ça, heureusement, le Sénégal et la Mauritanie l'ont très bien compris dans le cadre du programme GTA et nous travaillons tous les jours à essayer d'avoir nos ambitions communes prises en charge par ces opérateurs. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. And I move to Wamkele, please.
Well, thank you again. Well, I would say that let's set ourselves a target by 2035 of this in excess of $3 trillion of domestic capital that is in Africa. How much of that can we mobilize to direct towards our own infrastructure development? Given the current global context that I mentioned in the previous segment, let's set ourselves a target. Development finance institutions, our commercial banks, the African Union, as well as governments, how much of that should we mobilize, unleash, and deploy towards scalable investment infrastructure projects that will be cross-border, whether it is trade corridors ports that service more than one country, road networks that connect markets, I believe that it is achievable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Important to set the target. Yes, Honorable Kala.
For us, we do have a target, which is our main priority, achieving the full potential and capacity in terms of production of LNG by 2028, which is the time that is scheduled to achieve the high production of our LNG project, which is scheduled to transit from the current 3.4 tonic metrics of capacity to 38 per year. So this is our main priorities to achieve what we have already defined in our strategy. And the commitments that the government is already designed is to ensure the right environment and sustainability of LNG project. It means to achieve the legal stability and also a safe environment for the companies to operate in the country. Thank you.
A very, very important point. Safety of the company, but importantly, you will complete the LNG by then. Really, please join me in thanking the members of the panel. As you've heard since morning, we are here for 2 days, so this was just a glimpse of what you will be hearing for the next 2 days. Please, members of the panel, let us all rise and take our seats. Thank you.
gas fields directly to domestic industry. This is how Africa moves beyond exporting raw materials. By expanding midstream capacity, we'll turn gas corridors into industrial hubs, creating jobs, boosting trade, and securing the continent's energy future. The bridge between gas resources and industrial growth requires the right partner. Africa 50, your trusted partner in gas infrastructure.
Your Excellency, with your permission, it is now my honor to invite Your Excellency Professor Kithure Kindiki, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, to deliver his remarks. Please, let's welcome him.
Mheshimiwa Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, Rais wa Muungano wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Excellencies President, Rais mstaafu Jakaya Kikwete, ndugu zangu wa Tanzania, na wasalimu hamjamboni, wengine shikamoo. Madam President, I bring you greetings from your brother and counterpart, President William Ruto of Kenya, whom I'm representing here today. And I come here to do a very simple task. I've been asked to discuss Kenya's experience with large-scale energy infrastructure projects, the lessons we've learned, and I want to be as practical as I can because, as I have said again, mine is to give the perspective that perhaps we could share even as I listen to the experiences of the other countries from what we've just listened this afternoon, this morning. Your Excellency, energy is key to our industrialization. Also, we need reliable, affordable energy, which is also accessible to as many of our citizens as possible. We therefore need a backbone a source of energy and enough infrastructure to convey that energy to reach people's homes and to power industries. I don't want to repeat the statistics that have been given about the potential, the energy potential in our continent, including potential on natural gas. We have adequate, significant stocks of natural gas spread across our continent, from Nigeria, Senegal, Algeria, Mozambique, Tanzania, and many more other countries, I believe. But the challenge we have is how to provide major energy infrastructure projects, which normally take a lot of time, require a lot of technical expertise, and also are costly to be able to industrialize. Many scholars and policymakers have cited the fact that Africa's arable land, mineral wealth, including natural gas, a good population, as drivers of Africa's future. The only thing I want to add, even as I go into energy projects, is that Africa needs to build confidence in itself. Africans, we must learn to have confidence in our continent and in our capability to do what others have been able to do. Therefore, Your Excellency, for us, we have picked a few things along the way. The first one is government commitment and political leadership. It's very important for our various countries for us to have government commitment and political leadership, which provides strategic direction, policy consistency, investor confidence, and continuity across political cycles. The biggest threat today to Africa's development is policy disruption, which is an unintended consequence of democracy. The movement from one administration to another, which is a good thing, because democracy is a good thing. But we must find ways of insulating our development agenda from democratic transitions so that we can have continuity. And that is the discussion we are having in Kenya, generally. We have heard what President Samia has done in Tanzania, what President Ruto is doing in Kenya, and I'm sure many of our countries, our leaders are doing their best. But how do we assure that what the projects and the programs and the policy framework in place today will be in place 20, 30, 40, 50 years, so that as we do these things, we are looking at taking Africa from where we are today into the first world, because it is possible. Others have done it, Africa can do it. But if we are going to have disruptions every time there's an election, every time there is a succession from one administration to another, then that is going to be a big bottleneck. So consistency, continuity, and stability is a very key enabler of these wonderful objectives around infrastructure. As we build a democratic Africa, we must build a wealthy Africa at the same time, and the two outcomes are not mutually exclusive. Number two, robust policy and regulatory framework which provides predictability for investors, lenders, and developers, while ensuring environmental, technical, and consumer protection issues. That is a big lesson that we need to carry along, even as we develop these big transnational and long-term infrastructure projects, including energy projects. Number three, we need to develop technical capacity at the local level in our countries. This will reduce dependence on foreign expertise. It will lower project costs and build long-term national ownership of our projects. Number four, we need long-term integrated planning. As I have said in my opening sentence, the need for long-term integrated planning is to ensure investments are aligned to future demand, resource availability, and least cost development pathways. The next lesson that we have picked, number 6, is the need for innovative financing and risk mitigation mechanisms. The case has been made for mobilizing domestic resources, both in our countries, but also regionally. And I'm glad to see the president of the ADB group here and all the other institutions that are underwriting Africa's future in the financial and resource space. So we need to have innovative ways of mobilizing resources, both nationally and regionally, to be able to reduce investor risks, lower cost of capital, and enable implementation of capital-intensive projects. What we are doing in Kenya, we've just put in place the National Infrastructure Fund, where we are mobilizing resources from the stock market by selling off part of the stakes that government owns in government-owned entities, mobilizing and using that capital to crowd in private sector financing and bring on board financial institutions, pension funds, and everybody else, including the regional financial institutions which are represented here today. So we must think innovatively on where to get money, because the traditional sources of capital and finance are changing for various reasons, which I don't want to delve into today. Number 7, and it is linked to number 6, is private sector participation, involving the private sector so that we can mobilize capital, but also technology, and create operational efficiency while reducing pressure on our public resources that we have by collecting taxes from citizens. The next lesson we have learned is around community engagement and benefit sharing. Lesson number 8. There is need to have the people of Africa move with us. It is not enough to build roads and railways and ports and harbors and gas pipelines. It's important for us to carry the people of Africa for whom we work to go with us and to reason and travel with us the journey. The need for community engagement and benefit sharing secures the social license to operate the projects that we want to do. It reduces delay. Some of the projects have been delayed because of our inability to manage the social, economic, environmental, and other issues around some of our projects. You end up with delays, you end up with court cases, litigation, conflicts, and this affects project sustainability. We have also learned about effective contract and project management to prevent cost overruns, delays, disputes, while at the same time ensuring quality project delivery. The next lesson, number 10, is environmental and social safeguards, I think which is already I've alluded to ensure sustainability and improve access to financing, as well as protecting communities and biological diversity. We have also learned about the power of regional trade and cross-border infrastructure, which has been alluded to by some of the previous speakers. And we need to organize ourselves. In this space around LNG, for example, the pipeline from Mozambique, Tanzania, I see no reason why it should not extend to Kenya, up the coast, and it can go to the other directions as well, so that we can share not only we can share in the economies of scale and be able to leverage on our various strengths. Your Excellency, therefore, the matter before us is how can Africa build energy infrastructure, including LNG infrastructure, at a scale and pace which is commensurate with our state of development today and where we want to go tomorrow. And therefore, we have a dual responsibility of making sure that we provide access to reliable, affordable energy, while at the same time having low emissions of, in terms of environmental protection. It is therefore possible to utilize the significant resources that Africa has, including LNG resources, if we collaborate with one another. Just to give an example of the power evacuation program that we are running between Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, which has a capacity of evacuating 2,000 megawatts, but at the moment is evacuating 800 megawatts of power from Ethiopia, 700 megawatts into Kenya, 100 megawatts into Tanzania. And I think those are some of the areas which we need to work on and expand, because the capacity is there and the physical infrastructure is already in place. Tanzania has led by example in this space, but we need more infrastructural projects for gasification, regasification, power plants, and pipelines, so that we can take this matter to the next level. Your Excellency, once more, let me summarize by address in simple terms, because sometimes we complicate what we want to say with a lot of English. The future of this subject matter and the future of our continent lies on how we handle 5 things. Number 1, the people. I have talked about the need for us to go along with the people. The story of Africa's development must be written together collectively. And that's why it is important that the discourse we are having around development must be sensitized to communities, to the citizens, to make sure that we are all aligned. We must, for example, let me give this example. Many African countries are struggling with the politics of identity, especially subnational identities. Luckily, Tanzania largely does not fall under that category. Kenya does. And if you look at our constitutional order in many of our countries, there is need for identity, there is need for democratic space and expression and identity. But there is also increasingly going forward the need for African leadership to pursue not just the politics of identity. In fact, we should overcome the politics of subnational identity and promote more the politics of interests and wealth creation. We must work towards making our people rich, wealthy, prosperous across the board, even as we build democratic entities, build on our subnational identities. But that's just one example. But the point I'm saying is that we must carry the people along, young people, women, rural people, urban poor, and everyone. Number two, technology. The mega projects that we want to do, technology is at the center. And we cannot continue relying on foreign technology or foreign sources of technology. The issue of technology transfer is central in this matrix. Number three is the issue of partnerships, especially between the public and private sector, to provide resources, not just financial resources, but also blend the human resources from public and private sector to give us the outcomes we require. Number four, it is governance. Governance. I think part of it has been spoken to. This area about energy, resources, and natural resources require better governance so that we can be able to attract investments, build the confidence of investors, and secure the wealth of our people. Finally, it is the issue of political stability. We can build the best roads, the best airports, the best railways, the best seaports, but without long-term political stability, all that can be washed away. And therefore, we need to invest in strategic security, not just for our countries, but for our region as a whole. Because any instability anywhere in Africa is instability in our own countries. We have seen how the 1980s, 90s have looked like. And with the developing geopolitical changes, we must be able to invest in long-term political stability and strategic security for our countries, for our region, so that we can underwrite the future of our continent, because all these infrastructure projects, if our continent, our countries are not secure, can be washed away overnight. Thank you, and it's a pleasure for me to address you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and thank you for the nuggets of wisdom that you've shared. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, one of the defining features of the Infra for Africa Forum is that apart from the conversations that move or unlock funding into infrastructure, it's also a platform for action. We have signings that we are going to do that are actually coming out of some of the things that we've already spoken about, including gas. And I'm also proud to say that Your Excellency, 3 out of those 5 are related to Tanzania. So we are going to start with the very first signing, which is between Africa 50 and the Tanzania Ministry of Health. And this is an agreement for the expansion of access to dialysis and renal care across Tanzania. Please help me to welcome here Dr. Grace Magemba, permanent Thank you very much. The second signing is an agreement between Africa 50 and the Tanzania Electricity Supply Company, TANESCO. And this will be to formalize a partnership between the two organizations for the implementation of electricity transmission PPPs in Tanzania. May I please invite up here the signatories for this particular signing? Thank you. I'm pleased to say that the third one is also related to Tanzania, and this is the Tanzania LNG project signing. Today, Africa 50, Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation and Taka Arabia are signing this agreement to develop a pilot project that will supply Tanzania's natural gas to industries across the country. You've heard a lot about gas today and how it's so important to unlock industrialization in Africa. You heard our CEO announce the big gas platform that will be leading on the continent. So this is exciting times, and we are really pleased that this is happening. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. Anas, may I please ask you to remain? We are moving to the next signing, which is Africa 50 Agia Project Development with Propaco and the Italian Climate Fund. May I invite Luca Quadrini, Head of Corporate and Export Finance at Africa 50 Infrastructure Acceleration Fund. So that $20 million, he will be managing that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nana. Please, a round of applause for witnessing the agreements. Your Excellency, we've gathered here today, and many thanks to our sponsors. We acknowledge the support we received from Stanbic Bank. Thank you. We acknowledge the support received from Mohammed Enterprises Tanzania Limited. We acknowledge support from TPA. We also acknowledge support from TPDC. We also acknowledge support from PSSF, Yes Tanzania, Azam Media Group, and Mwananchi Communication. Before I welcome the next speaker, allow me to let the audience know, after our program, we've heard so many times Dr. Kaberuka being mentioned. He will have a fireside chat. Please don't plan to miss. And before that, you will also hear a showcase of investment in Tanzania. May I now, Your Excellency, allow me to welcome the President of the African Development Bank and Chairman of the Africa 50 Board, Dr. Sidi Odita, to give words of appreciation and also to welcome you to address this audience. Karibu sana, Dr. Sidi. Please, a round of applause to him.
Thank you very much. Allow me really to express our gratitude to Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania, for the warm welcome and for hosting this annual meeting of the General Assembly of Africa 50 and the Infrastructure Forum for Africa. Allow me, Your Excellency, to invite you to deliver your keynote statement. Welcome.
Please be seated. Your Excellency, the former President of the United Republic of Tanzania and one of the founding members or presidents of the Africa 50, and this is none than Dr. Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. Your Excellency, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, my brother Kithure Kindiki, Your Excellency, representatives of the heads of state and government, I also acknowledge the presence of Your Excellency Dr. Sid Odita, President of African Development Bank and Chairman of Africa 50. May I also acknowledge the presence of members of Parliament of Tanzania. They are here. Governors of Africa 50, honorable ministers, Secretary General of the African Free Trade Area, Honorable Wamkele Mendi, Ms. Elena Abobise, Chief Executive Officer of Africa 50. I also acknowledge the chiefs of the security organs here present, Tanzanian security organs, members of the diplomatic corps, development partners, distinguished investors, ladies and gentlemen, habari asubuhi and good morning. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to the United Republic of Tanzania. And on behalf of the government and the people of Tanzania, I extend our warmest greetings and heartfelt appreciation for Africa 50, to Africa 50, for entrusting our country with the privilege of hosting this year's Infra for Africa Forum and General Shareholders Meeting. Since its establishment, this forum has become one of Africa's vital platforms for shaping the continent's infrastructure and investment agenda. We are extremely honored that following the successful hosting of previous meetings by fellow African nations, including the last one in Mozambique, Tanzania has been chosen to welcome this distinguished gathering this year. Thank you very much, and you are most welcome. And this reflects growing confidence in Tanzania's economic transformation, investment potential, and strategic role as a gateway connecting Africa's markets. More importantly, it reaffirms our shared conviction that Africa's future is best driven by African leadership, African capital, and African partnership. Before I proceed, allow me to thank the previous speakers and my dear brother Kindiki and the panelists for informative dialogue throughout roads, reliable energy efficient ports and railways, digital connectivity and infrastructure that creates jobs, attracts investment and improves lives. That's why this forum matters. It is indeed bringing together leaders, investors, financiers, and development partners with a common purpose. The purpose is to transform ideas into bankable projects, partnerships into investments, and Africa's immense potential into lasting prosperity for our people. We meet at the time of heightened global uncertainties, marked by geopolitical tensions, conflicts, climate change, supply chain disruptions, and financial pressures. Although many of the challenges originated beyond Africa, their impact sends ripple effects across our continent. These realities reinforce the need for Africa to build resilience and self-sustaining economies by adding value to our resources, strengthening regional value chains, expanding intra-African trade, and mobilizing domestic capital for our own development. At the heart of this transformation is infrastructure. Our roads, ports, railways, energy systems, and digital networks must drive growth, withstand future shocks, and enhance Africa's competitiveness. By developing bankable projects, mobilizing long-term financing, and attracting private investment, Africa 50 reflects Africa's determination to finance, build and own its own future, and hence, through collaboration, strong partnership, and effective implementation, we can build a more resilient, competitive, and prosperous Africa. Excellencies and distinguished participants, as for us, Tanzania, our infrastructure transformation is guided by the Tanzanian Development Vision 2050 for the 25 years to come. whose implementation commenced last month, July this year. The vision spells out our ambition to build a competitive, industrialized, and inclusive economy driven by innovation, human capital, sustainable development, and modern infrastructure. Recognizing that this transformation cannot be achieved by the government alone, our 25 years journey to 2050 places the private sector at the center of economic growth, with ambition that 70% of economic contribution will be driven by the private sector, locally and global private sector. Our role as the government is therefore to create a predictable investment climate, deliver strategic public infrastructure, and build partnership that unlock private sector capital, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Over the past years, Tanzania has undertaken ambitious infrastructure development programs in our history. We have expanded and modernized the port of Dar es Salaam, enhancing its efficiency and strengthening its role as a regional trade and logistic hub. We are advancing the standard gauge railway to improve connectivity, reduce transport costs, and facilitate trade with neighboring countries. And we also investing in strategic roads, network, bridges, logistic corridors, and modern airports so as to strengthen national, regional. These investments are already generating impact by reducing logistic costs, attracting investments. Maybe when the Tanzania Investment Center, we do the presentation, we see how Tanzania is receiving the FDIs from outside the country. So they are also reinforcing Tanzania's role as a strategic gateway for land-linked countries, including Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, Zambia, Malawi, and Democratic Republic of Congo, by providing efficient access to regional and global market. Tanzania's strategic location along the Indian Ocean has historically positioned our country as a natural gateway to Africa. Today, through sustained investments in infrastructure, we are strengthening this role by connecting markets, facilitating trade, and supporting regional integration. As an active member of both the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community, Tanzania occupies a unique position as a bridge between the two important regional blocs. We are committed to using this position to strengthen cross-border trade, develop regional value chains, and promote investments that deliver shared prosperity. The African Continental Free Trade Area further complements regional efforts to enhance trade, investment, and infrastructure connectivity. We therefore stand ready to work with Africa 50, governments, investors, and development partners to accelerate delivery of infrastructure that connects our people, industries, and unlock Africa's economic potential. Distinguished participants, talking on building Africa's next generation infrastructure, we are relying heavily on building integration systems that drive industrialization, innovation, and competitiveness. And in this respect, energy remains the foundation of economic transformation. Without reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy, industries cannot grow, business cannot expand, and economies cannot compete. So, cognizant of this fact, Tanzania is investing in a secure and diversified energy sector through hydropower, renewable energy, and natural gas. The Julius Nyerere Hydropower Station and investment in other clean energy sources is strengthening energy security and supporting industrial development. With the continued discovery of natural or proven natural gas reserves, Tanzania is well positioned to contribute to regional energy security while promoting value addition, manufacturing, and economic diversification. We also recognize that Africa's energy future depends on stronger regional cooperation, cross-border transmission, networks, and regional power pools that will enhance energy security, reduce costs, and provide reliable power to support our growing economies. And my brother Kindiki has explained very nicely our East African pool, but we also have the Southern African power pool, which also provide electricity, reliable electricity to our countries. Equally important is digital infrastructure. In today's world, connectivity is essential as roads, ports, and energy. Through the national ICT broadband backbone, Tanzania is expanding digital access, improving public services, promoting financial inclusion, supporting innovation, and creating new opportunities, especially for young entrepreneurs. It is obvious that infrastructure alone cannot transform Africa. And I want to concur with Deputy Minister Kindiki that our greatest asset is our people. By investing in education, technical skills, and digital capabilities, can empower our youthful population to become innovators, creators, and drivers of African transformation. We can develop them to be not merely consumers of the global solution, but producers of solutions to the world. Regarding mobilizing investment for Africa's infrastructure future, as it was narrated earlier by the previous speakers, that Africa financial muscles for investment remains one of the greatest barriers to economic transformation, but it is also the greatest potential for private sector investment opportunities in our time. Governments alone cannot finance Africa's infrastructure ambitions. We must strengthen partnerships that bring together public resources, private sector, development financial institutions, and local and international investors. I, therefore, invite financial institutions, investors gathered here today to partner with us, Tanzania, and explore the vast opportunities available across transport, energy, logistics, manufacturing, digital infrastructure, and industrial development. Tanzania is no longer a source of raw materials only. It is becoming a destination for value addition, innovation, and industrial production and sustainable growth. Thank you. Talking of a shared vision for Africa's next decade, we must translate commitments into projects, ambitions into achievements, and plans into measurable results. The infrastructure we build must strengthen regional integration, expand trade under continental free trade area, and create opportunities for millions of Africans. To Africa 50, I extend my sincere appreciation for your leadership and contribution to Africa's infrastructure transformation. Your achievement demonstrates the power of African-led partnership in delivering impactful projects. As we enter your next decade, we encourage you to continue championing innovation or innovative solutions and investment that connect our continent and improve the lives of our people. Tanzania stands ready to deepen its partnership with Africa 50. As you have witnessed here, we signed 3 MOUs or agreements with Africa 50, and we expect better implementation of those agreements. So Tanzania stands ready to deepen our partnership with Africa 50 investors, and all stakeholders committed to building a connected, competitive, and prosperous Africa. Excellencies and distinguished participants, before I conclude, I would like to encourage you to extend your engagement with the people of Tanzania beyond the meeting halls and invite you to experience the warmth of our people, the richness of our culture, and the beauty of our country. From the endless plains of the Serengeti, the proudly standing Mount Kilimanjaro, and to the breathtaking, beautiful islands of Zanzibar, Tanzania offers memorable experiences and exciting opportunities for tourism, hospitality, and sustainable development. Take time to experience them. Before you go back and buy another ticket to come back, you are here. Use them. I also wish to share our pride in hosting, together with our neighbors, Kenya and Uganda, the historic Total Energy CAF African Cup of Nations AFCON Pamoja 2027, the first ever AFCON tournament to be hosted in East Africa, and the first in the history of the competition to be jointly hosted by 3 countries. This milestone reflects not only our shared passion for sports, but also Africa's growing confidence and ability to deliver world-class events while strengthening regional cooperation and investments in sports. As Africans, when we work together, there's no limit to what we can achieve. With these remarks, it is now my honor and privilege to declare the 2026 Infra for Africa Forum and Africa 50 General Stakeholders Meeting officially open, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you. God bless Africa. God bless Africa 50. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
A round of applause to Our Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, for those great words. And here she bids farewell before we proceed with our program. Brass band, please let us escort Her Excellency as she heads out. Take your seats.